Hi everybody, this is Lara at pureelliottwave.com. My update for you today, working through my list, is Litecoin. I'm not taking any new requests for my list apart from very long-term members of my Pure Elliott Wave subscription website. So I just need to work through this list. So if you ask for something else on the YouTube channel, I'm going to have to ignore it. I'll let you know when I open the list again. It's just too long for manageability. I updated this one quite recently, so this is going to be pretty quick. I'm expecting for Litecoin, this is a weekly chart, I've got cycle 1 and 2, within cycle 3, primary 1, 2, intermediate 1, 2. Intermediate 2 subdividing as a double zigzag. Yes, it's longer lasting than primary wave 2, 38 weeks, 57 weeks, that's okay. Sometimes later second wave corrections are longer lasting. The answer's in the chart. Someone asked me this question recently. The answer is in the charts. Here, primary 2. So first of all, from this low to this high, it's pretty obviously a complete 3 or a complete 5. I'm going to label it as a complete 5 because it has a really good fit. Primary 2 lasts 13 weeks. Intermediate 2, 7 weeks. Minor 2, 10 weeks. Minute 2, 25 weeks. That's okay. Sometimes a lower degree correction can last longer than a higher degree correction. The answer's in the charts. You can't see, well, you could try and see minute 2 over there and then another series of first and second waves, but where are all your third and fourth waves going to be? And now primary 4, 2 weeks, intermediate 4, 3 weeks, primary 2, 13 weeks, intermediate 2, 7 weeks. Absolutely normal behaviour for cryptocurrencies and commodities to have fourth waves that are more brief than the counterpart second waves. Okay, let's have a look at this low and see, do we still think it's sustainable after the strong downward movement we saw for that session last week? I think that was Thursday. Probably. So my invalidation points is 40.6804. I'll change this. Let's get some labels into the start of this third wave. I'm going to label minor 1 incomplete. I think that it should probably be. And I want to see if there's a leading diagonal over here. It'll fit for Bitcoin. It'll fit for a couple of other smaller coins I've seen. Is it going to fit for Litecoin? I'm checking the wavelengths. Oh, yes, it does work. So if this is a contracting diagonal, then 3 needs to be shorter than 1 and 5 needs to be shorter than 3. Yes. And 4 needs to be shorter than 2. Yes. Do the trend lines work? Oh, no. Don't really like that at all. I don't like this overshoot here of the 2-4 trend line and a breach almost here of the 2-4 trend line. Can I see this any other way? I wouldn't want to see this over here like this because then 3 won't have a good fit, but if we see it like this, the subdivisions all fit. Within a leading diagonal, subwaves 1, 3 and 5 are most commonly zigzags. They can also appear to be impulses. No, that won't work. Let's put this here. This could be an ending diagonal. This looks like a zigzag. 3 looks like a really good zigzag. Yeah, that looks, I'm not happy about the trend line, but it meets all Elliott wave rules and it mostly works. Okay. I'm calculating a range for a potential support area, which is really common. Cryptocurrencies tend to exhibit very, very deep second wave corrections, particularly the earliest second wave corrections within a new bull run. And they can be quite commonly from 0.8 or 80% to 0.9 or 90% the first wave they're correcting. So that gives us, for minute 2, a potential range from 45.67 to 43.18, rounding up to 2 decimal places. Let's have a look at the possible structure of minute 2. It would most likely be a zigzag, and it looks like wave A could be over as an impulse. Certainly could. It could continue a little bit lower, but within this pullback I would be expecting a sharp bounce or a sideways consolidation, maybe a little bear flag for minuet wave B. So it won't move in a straight line, but I will expect more downward movement to see minute 2 a more common depth of minute wave 1. Let's have a look at some classic technical analysis and see what's happened to volume, etc. off this low. First, looking at the last low in the middle of June, $40.6804. Off this low, there's a bullish engulfing candlestick pattern, and now for the last completed week, we have a bearish engulfing candlestick pattern. The bearish candlestick pattern volume is 3.3 billion. The previous upward week, 2.8 billion. So there is push from volume last week, pushing price lower. I would expect more downward movement to follow that bearish pattern. Doesn't necessarily mean Litecoin has to make a new low. It doesn't have to, but I would expect at least another week of downward movement, if not more. The volume profile off the high starts out, the bullish engulfing pattern, off the low, doesn't have support from volume compared to the previous downward week. And then we move through here and we start to see some push from volume, but it ended a little bit more weakly, and here's that strength in volume with the last downward week and that strong downward session for, I think it was Thursday. The last signal from on-balance volume was bullish, a break above weak resistance. There's no new range from on-balance volume, no signal. ADX again indicating a downward trend at the weekly chart level. RSI reached oversold at the weekly chart level. It doesn't tend to do that commonly for this market or for many cryptocurrencies. For most of them it's an unusual occurrence, so reaching deeply oversold for that downward trend is bullish. That supports the idea that that downward or that last low that we see in mid-June could be sustained for Litecoin. There's a downward trend again, and RSI is in neutral territory, so there's room for that downward trend to continue again. Money flow index though, just dipping into oversold. There's some hidden bullish divergence here. Money flow index making a lower low, while price so far has made a higher low. Stochastics in neutral territory, and ATR still declining. Let's look at the daily chart level. Here's the low on the 14th of June 2022, the low 40.6804. There is a piercing pattern here, and there's a series of bullish long lower wicks, so unsurprising there was some upward movement. At this high here, this is a shooting star bearish reversal candlestick pattern, and here's a bearish engulfing candlestick patterns, and we've got a series of bearish upper wicks, so unsurprising we're getting downward movement. Now for this session, 22nd of August, it's incomplete, so I cannot draw a conclusion from this. So far it has a bullish long lower wick, but we need to see how it closes. If it closes like this, it could be a bullish hammer reversal pattern, and then I'd expect a bounce or consolidation for that little B wave. I don't expect this bearish movement is over yet. Let's see how this session completes. It looks like it's going to have push from volume. Up off this low, the piercing pattern did not have push from volume, but we get into this session here and it did have a good push from volume. We're seeing here price move higher with declining volume. Now volume starts to increase, and again here for upward movement, but also for downward movement. And now it's declining for downward movement and upward movement. The volume profile is just not very clearly bullish or bearish. It's a bit of a mix. This last session, let's see how that one completes. Bullish or bearish? We can't tell yet. Off the low, on balance volume is making higher lows overall, while price is also making higher lows, no divergence, no current range, and no signal from on balance volume at the daily chart level. ADX at the daily chart level is declining, indicating no clear trend. It previously indicated there was an upward trend back in here, but now it's declining. The negative DX line is above the positive. If the ADX line turns up, then it would indicate again a downward trend, but right now, no clear trend at the daily chart level. RSI well in neutral territory after exhibiting possibly very weak bullish divergence between price at the low at the daily chart level, and remember, oversold at the weekly chart level. That's quite bullish. Money flow index well in neutral territory. Stochastics oversold, and so with stochastics oversold and price, well, I need to figure out exactly where the support is here. It could be that downward movement is going to hit some support quite soon. If stochastics oversold and ADX not indicating a clear trend, we should be using support and resistance with stochastics to indicate when an upward swing ends and a downward swing begins, and vice versa. ATR showing a slight increase as price starts to move lower, a little bit of strength in that downward movement. So with stochastics oversold or entering oversold just, let's look for next support for price at 46.66 and below that 40.68. That's it from me with a quick update for Litecoin for you today. I hope everyone had an awesome weekend.